Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. In this right here video, I'm gonna step away from my normal subject matter and talk about working. You know what I'm saying? A man has to work. You know, no excuses. But you know, unless you have some assets where you can generate income off of, or you get a disability check or crazy check from the government, or you know, some sort of income coming in, I'm like, you know, there's no excuse not to work. You know, as much as I rag on America and talk about how black men don't get a fair shake and white people get first dibs at everything, you know, there's still various employment opportunities for all American citizens, you know, even illegal immigrants, you know, and so forth. It's just that me, if you know, if I'm not working, you know, it's like I kind of feel like less than a man. You know, I kind of get depressed, especially if I'm out of work for large periods of time. You know, I don't want to go to the bar. I don't want to holler at chicks, and you know, it's like I feel horribly empty. You know, and I can't see how some men can just coast through life or just be okay with it. Now, you know, I'm just give you a couple examples. You know, I'm not saying this is just a black problem. You know, even though it's running rampant in the on the so-called black community, and I use that word community loosely. But I remember a white friend I used to hang out with. You know, used to go out to the bars with. You know, he was a tall, you know what I'm saying, red-headed fellow, you know, real slick talker. And he told me, he said, I'm not going to ever have a job, nor am I ever going to pay rent. I'm like, it's flat out, you know, he just is straight up chase, no chaser on that. You know, I'm like, he was just blunt and honest. And he actually, it wasn't that he lived with females, he actually lived with a guy. You know, and I guess his roommate or whatever he lived with was kind of socially awkward. So, and he used to bring females over to the pad. So hence, this guy lets him stay there rent free because he's you know, he's an extrovert, and he you know, hooks him up with women, or try to hook him up with women. You know, he said sometimes he'll bring 2 females over to the pad to hook him and his roommate up, and he ends up with both females. But in the so-called black community, there's men who do this. See, my friend didn't have any kids; it was just him. So, in the black community, we know we have dudes with multiple baby mothers. You know, sometimes the baby mothers are living right down the street from each other. You know, or dudes living with females and bringing other females to the house when his baby mother's not home. And I feel that this is just kind of like that movie Baby Boy. You know, that this, you know what I'm saying, trend is sort of unique in the black community. You know, if not, you know what I'm saying, somewhat unique, if not completely unique. But I understand that there's a lot of black men that are living their second childhood, kind of like that Nas song, and also a rapper named K Reno also made something about that, about, you know, dudes in their 30s and whatever that don't want to work, that still polish off their Air Jordans or Air Force Ones with a toothpaste, and you know, it's like you know, it's like almost like they never moved out their mommy's house. You know, I remember when my sister was involved with a dude of this nature. You know, maybe about 10 years ago. You know, not now, but she was in her 20s. She had her own crib. You know, and this dude just sat around and played, you know, PlayStation, you know, Madden, Resident Evil, even Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm like, what grown man plays Sonic the Hedgehog? But I can never look that dude in the eye. Times I come to my sister's house, we won't even make eye contact, man. I always thought that dude was a parasitic worm, and I'm glad my sister moved on with her life and not get caught in that same old rigmarole again. But last time but he had my sister had a son by him. But last time I checked, they're not together, but that dude's doing well. He actually got a job and got his shit together, but and so forth. But going back to work, going back to finding a job, and here, as I said, here in America, there's no excuse. I'm like, when I talk to foreigners, that's one thing they say about this country, that it's easy to find work. It may not be the work that you want, but it's easy to find some sort of income. And a lot of people, they make excuses why they don't work. They're like, oh, the white man, and one thing, as harsh as I am against the Anglo-Saxon, I've never used that as an excuse. I wouldn't even accept that as an excuse that you haven't succeeded or done anything with your life because it's the white man or because of his system. You should be able to get a nice house, a nice car, a decent paying job, or a job that survives, even though, we know that America is it's a white privileged country. Now, but when it comes to working these jobs, I'm like, there's so many ways you can look at it. I'm like, you can just go to work and be like, hey, I'm only here 40 hours a week. I'm only here 8 hours a day. I'm doing this for a paycheck. When I go home, I'm not even thinking about this damn job. So that's a, what I'm saying, you can have that mantra. Or you can find jobs that are make yourself invaluable to your employer. Even if you're not such a good worker, use your charisma, use something. As I said before, I've always worked. There hasn't been a month that went by in my adult life that I didn't work. Either I went to work or I went to school. And there was one point where I was going to school full time and going to work full time. So, man, I don't want to hear, and I was doing this when I was 21 years old, and I'm seeing dudes that are 32, 33 and just being completely lazy, being a sloth, not trying to make any sort of kind of moves. But, a lot of people need to realize, these people that still complain about work, like, oh, I don't want to work because, the white man, or I'll see some little white boy get promoted over me and all this blase. I'm like, there's so many jobs out there where, you don't have to act, you can work without having a boss over your shoulder. You can actually do your thing. Shout out to Philly Jess. He talked about truck driving. Yeah, and that's a trade you can learn. Where you're kind of on the road there, and even though you still have people you answer up to and responsibilities, you don't have someone just constantly leaning over your shoulders, blowing smoke up your ass and so forth. Now, I've said before about when I've, the thing is, the older you get, you have to become real with yourself. And sometimes your dreams may not be accomplished. Being a photographer for, a major hip hop magazine or some shit like that, or being a comic book artist, or being a signed rapper and so forth. And it's good to dream, but at my age, I think about my retirement, my 401k and shit of that nature. The equity in my home and so forth. These are things you have to think about, and I'm like, it's still to have your dreams and put your projects on the side, but you gotta, think realistically about your future. But also going back into work, when I'm, especially in my adult life, when I live completely on my own, each time, you leave a job, you make sure, you know what I'm saying, you have another job to go to. You know, that's like the golden rule. But when I particularly worked at the jail, and when I quit it when you know what I'm saying, my chips were stacked up. For instance, my incident that happened to me at the jailhouse, it was some shit that erupted, and I actually walked out. You know what I'm saying? I just walked off the job, you know what I'm saying? Turned in my employee badge and I was done. But I didn't do that without critically thinking about the situation first. First, I was thinking to myself, before I walked out those big metal doors, my car was already paid off for. My car was paid off for, and I had the title to it 2 months prior. It was around tax time, and I was going to get my income tax check. I just recently got a paycheck, and I was going to get 2 more paychecks, one full paycheck and one half paycheck that was coming to me. You know, I got paid bi-weekly. And so I was figuring, I'm like, if I quit right now, and since I'm walking out, I won't get unemployment, I'll still have enough money, you know, to last me to pay all my bills up for 3 months and some, and still have extra money to go out to the bar and go out partying and so forth. So I thought about that. So I was like, yeah, you know, so I walked out, and my plan was like, shit, I'm just going to sit around and relax for about 2 months before I even looked for a job, because I worked there for 5 years, 5 strenuous years. But after 2 weeks of being unemployed, man, I just got depressed, man. I can't do this. Even though I don't have a wife and I don't have kids and I had money in the bank, it's like I just had to work. I had to do something. Wasn't that I had to do something constructive, because I always did, but I had to generate some sort of income. You know, I don't want to just wait, and then when I want to go job hunting, whatever, there ain't no jobs available. When I'm driving around, I'm seeing now hiring here, now hiring there, and I got the employment ads, and you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. As I said before, I just seem so incomplete without working. You know, without generating money, without generating net worth, you know. But eventually I found my dream job. Actually, I don't want to say it's my dream job, but it's I got a job that a lot of people don't know about. You know, I work for midwives, and what I do is I you know, people who go back and forth to the hospital, I pick them up, I drop them off. I got my own minivan there that I invest into my own insurance, and I'm paid by midwives, by, you know, that people who have Medicare and this and that, and that's all I do, pick them up and drop them off from the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm traveling real long distances and I get paid by the mile. I'm like, you know, and plus in Indiana, there's some of the best hospitals in the country. You know, I'm like, you have good medical schools at Purdue University and Indiana State University, and I'm like, we got some of the best doctors in the country. We got some of the best heart care centers, cardiac care. I'm not saying they just opened a big hospital dedicated to neuroscience, you know, and brain surgery. So, and then, as I said, sometimes I'm driving long distance. You know, I'm picking people up from, you know, my state, driving them all the way to Chicago, because there's people from all these little different rinky-dink towns, you know, across the state, and even people outside the state that come to certain hospitals, certain specialists in this, and I get paid by the mile. I pick them up. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nobody breathing over my shoulder. You know, I make my own hours. If I don't want to work, I don't work. You know, they page me and call me, and they still tell me something like, hey, we got this person right here that needs to go to Hammond, Indiana. Are you up for it? So I'm like, boom, you know. So, yeah, and as I said, my job is one of those jobs that people don't think about. They don't know about. I don't have to sit in some type of stuffy room with poor ventilation with some freaking hook-nosed son of a bitch looking over on me, making sure I'm doing my job right, you know, while I'm sweating, waiting for a fucking lunch break and so forth, watching that clock, waiting for it to tick by and this and that. Alright, it's already been going too long. Thanks for watching.